Bang! Neeves knives. I'm Jared and this is 5 Fast Knives. Now we're talking about knives with great detents. These are 5 knives you can get very easily and they all have incredible detents. Now starting the list off, we have the KANSEPT PRETATOUT. Now I believe that stands for ready for anything. Now this is in 154 CM blade steel, MICARTA with steel liners, titanium milled pocket clip, but this knife has a super solid detent. Unlike its titanium frame lock friend, or at least from my example, I've had 2 of these, only 1 of these, and this one, a little bit of a lighter detent. Now the way these are set up is you're supposed to put your finger on top and drag, or on this little flat part right here, and drag straight down, and in that case it works great. And because it's a little bit lighter on the flipper, it makes it really easy to reverse flick. But the liner version has a very stiff detent, very strong detent, but if you can still easily reverse flick it, thumb flick it, or reverse flick off of the thumb stud. Now the lock bar is also stronger, and you can hear the detent sucking the blade in. It is very solid. The liner has a little bit of stick on both the examples I had, but that is something that will easily break in over time, and it basically it kind of makes the lockup just a little bit stronger than it might be if not, because it's not like annoying stick, it's just where it's like really snug underneath the tang of the blade. Very smooth on the drop. This one's in the gray micarta, and I like it. I think the knife is a super solid knife. It's a knife that feels like it'll break in really good over time and just get better and better. And especially with this strong of a detent, it's a surprisingly very strong detent. Next, the Kaiser Mini Gemini. Now this is the aluminum version. They have these in red, blue, and there are so many different versions of this. They have the larger version in micarta, an N690, titanium frame lock versions. Every single one I've tried has had a solid detent. Not really strong, but just, well, it's strong, but in a perfect way. You can easily push button this flipper tab. This is a very comfortable flipper tab. There's no jimping on it, but it just makes it so easy to flip where you're not going to fail it. You can just hand it to anybody and anybody will just deploy it without fail. You know how sometimes you hand a knife to somebody and they're not used to using a detent and they go to break it and it just basically pops out and it doesn't deploy. This one will deploy every single time. Now this one's an N690 steel drop point blade that is coated, and then this exact version has the aluminum scales that are anodized blue. Steel liner lock, good access to the liner, very smooth on the drop, and this is a Ray Laconico design. Deep carry clip. Now like I said, this one is the mini. There is a little bit of a larger one, just not in the aluminum, at least not that I know of, but the larger one comes in many different options as well. Very affordable too. And next we have the WII Kulix. Now this one was very surprising to me. I did not think that they were gonna be able to get such a perfect detent on this button lock because the flipper tab is so small, but man, they knocked it out of the park. It is fantastic. Very comfortable flipper tab, nice jimping, nice and grippy. When you break the detent or what acts as the detent, it flies out. Then you also have the thumb stud action, which is still really, really good. Obviously, it's a little bit of a stronger detent on the thumb studs, but solid, solid deployment. 20 CV blade steel, and then we have the titanium scales with the titanium pocket clip. Now, if you guys don't know, the WII Mini Malice is coming out soon. Actually, it's out. You can get it right now. So the WII Mini Malice is out, and I'm really hoping that the detent is just like this one. The same materials, 20 CV, titanium, but I have the large malice and I love that knife. So the mini malice is basically the exact same size as this one. Full 4-finger grip, and I can't wait till it gets here, and I hope it has a detent similar to this one. But you can get the mini malice right now. Next, the Kaizer Mini Roach. Holy cow, this has a solid detent. I have two of them, and both of them are extremely similar in their deployments. Just hammers out there. And it has a removable flipper tab. You can actually take this flipper tab off. You do have to take apart the knife, but you see that slice right there? This comes off. So you can make it to where the knife is only a reverse flicker. Then the flipper tab is gone. Nice comfortable ergos. But even with the flipper tab on, it's very comfortable in the hand. And the detent is so good for both deployments that I almost don't even want to take it off. The flipper tab is very, very comfortable. The jimping is amazing on it. And man, this landing zone, it just makes it so good, because you, on the large one, you see how they have the same cutout. Now you see how this one has a really large flipper tab. Well, the detent was rock solid on the large one as well, at least on the liner lock version. I noticed the frame lock version was a little bit softer, but their liner lock version, super solid detent. This is even better, even better. It just has such a more cleaner break to it, and it has a nice sound to it when it deploys. Good access to the lock bar. Smooth on the drop, but it's got a pretty strong lock bar, so it's not fall shut action, but it is very smooth with some shakes. But no, it's not just going to drop. You do have to encourage it. But that also makes it to where this reverse flick is amazing. Amazing thumb flick. Great access to the whole deployment. The way you have leverage on the hole is great. And this is a beautiful blade shape and grind for EDC. Super deep hollow grind. 154 cm blade steel. Very thin behind the edge. This is such a useful blade for detailing work and slicing. It's going to sharpen up really good with its beautiful plunge grind. Look at all that life you can sharpen off. This is a good one, guys. Really good one. Now, last one. Oh, sorry. These were G10 scales, by the way. G10 scales, steel liner, steel deep carry clip that is inset with flat screws, but it's not reversible. Let's get to the next one. Now, this last one, possibly the best detent on this list. And it's also the most affordable knife on this list. This thing is so good. So good. I said in my first impressions video of it that if you want to feel high-end action, right here. Not only is this detent and flipper tab perfection, the way the shape of the flipper tab, the jimping, you basically put your finger down and just, you can push button it or drag it down, but it feels more comfortable just to drag it down. That break is so clean, it has no choice but to fly. See how stiff it is? Very stiff detent in a good way. Good access to the lock bar, and even though it has such a stiff detent, very smooth on the drop. Not a guillotine, but it is definitely drop shutty. And it only gets smoother and smoother over time. But man, this break and the detent is just so crisp. You can't fail it. You cannot fail this knife unless if you cheat. It's impossible. The leverage you get from the flipper tab, coupled with the detent strength and the size of the detent and just all the detent stiffness, coupled with the flipper tab and leverage, whew, it's so good. Then the blade shape. This is a fantastic blade shape, similar to what you'd kind of get from a 940 in a way, a little bit more elongated, but very, very good for EDC, very useful. Then we have G10 Scales, nice and comfortable in the hand. Obviously, I feel the clip, but it's not a big deal, and I can use this little spot right there to choke up a little bit. Deep carry clip, not flat screws, and it's not reversible, but it is a deep carry clip, perfectly well centered. And these things are under $30, guys. Under $30. I can't, it makes you get upset at knives that are much more expensive. Like, why can't you get a detent like this? Why can you not perfect a detent like this? If these guys can do it, so can you, because this is, holy cow, really good. This has better detents than I felt on $1,000 knives. Hands down. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Everything will be linked down in the description. Peace.